You gotta have a podcast.
You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast.
You gotta have a podcast.
You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast.
You gotta have a podcast.
You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta have a podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to You Gotta Have a Podcast. I am Angela Palladino, the host of this particular podcast that I just have to have. And today we have a real gem of a Don Draper on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We hosted a stand-up show together at Union Hall in New York City called Walt before the pandemic. And, you know, we've just collaborated a lot over the years. He's a really great guy. He's a talented stand-up comedian, writer, filmmaker, and now painter, visual artist. His name is Julian Edward Williams, and this may be the most sincere conversation I've ever had with him. But don't worry, it's still funny because he is truly a lunatic. We go deep about creating authentically and the transition from comedy to painting and visual art and the differences between those two worlds and the artists that work within them. And it's a wonderful conversation. I think you'll enjoy it, and if anything, tune in for the segment in the first 10 minutes where we get sidetracked and talk about Mad Men for no reason, which really is a standard conversation with Julian. Well, here it is, my conversation with Julian Edward Williams.
I was not something I did or was interested in, or I always really like art. I always really like going to the museum or like, you know, just seeing art, like, you know, anything can be art.
Right.
I believe that more so than I ever did before.
Yeah.
I knew that. And I started, about over a year ago, but it wasn't like a thing I did.
So was it
I
like
didn't draw.
You didn't do like any drawing or sketching classes like in high school or college or anything? It's just like all new stuff.
Yeah, I
Wow.
took art. I took art in like grade school and like high school because I think it's a requirement. At least it was to graduate. But no, I didn't really. I thought like I have a little spare cash. I'm not working. The world's falling apart. I'm basically in my apartment. At the time, I was living alone with my dog all the time. I was like, what can I do to fill the time? I can't keep watching, you know, I love Mad Men, but it's an emotional drain.
At this point,
watch it so
you've
many
also
times.
seen like every episode probably about 200 times.
I've watched the whole thing through 4 times.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, you're a shitty guy, but you're trying and you got a drinking problem. Okay, so let's do it one more time. Let's run it back.
Bring it back to Don Draper every time.
Yeah. Actually, it's really weird not to get off topic right away.
No,
but like I've started to think about it as a show about Peggy and like her journey. Like her journey is like this transcendent, like fucking ascending. Can I curse on this? Is
Yeah,
okay?
of course. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because you know I curse a lot. But this like ascending like plateau, and she still cares about this guy who, by all accounts, fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense.
Like, you know what I mean? It's a really cool if you watch
Especially,
it from her perspective.
Like as a character development, she changes so much throughout the whole show, whereas Don just kind of stays shitty. Like he changes a little bit, then goes back to being shitty, then like gets a little, it's like but it basically kind of always comes back to like being a shithead. Yeah.
It's like you realize you're shitty and then you like go back to being shitty and then you realize you're shitty and then you go back. It's like this whole like wavy thing, but she's just a straight up, like by the last season, she's just, you know, I forget, somebody buys them out, but she's like in charge of her own. She's like the first woman in charge of like her own department. Like Don works under her by the last season. Yeah. And it's insane, but no one thinks about that. They should.
I also think about that too, because I've actually thought about this before, and we're completely off topic, but Pete also changes a lot in the show.
Yeah, he quits.
Yeah.
He quits and does something else with this whole, it's such a layered, I've tried to watch like other shit and people are like, have you watched like Battlestar Galactica or shit like that? I can't. Like the human condition really entices me.
Only Mad Men.
Yeah, it's just like people are shitty, and like here's a show about how shitty they can be without like breaking the law or, you know, space travel or anything. It's just fucking that shit. I think it's great.
But
back to topic.
Yeah, just back to topic. So I guess like what was it then that you were like? Was it just like easy to go down to like Blick Art Supplies and get, or what made you choose like painting and visual art over like, picking up a guitar or something like that,
That's a really good question. I wish I could play the guitar well. One, besides going to like the whole thing was like I couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So it was like whatever could come to me.
Yeah, like ordering it online or something.
Yeah. And I don't know. I always really enjoyed music. I love music. I really love music. I love going to shows if I can now, if it's, safe. And I've always I did the radio in college. I did the whole 92 WICB, the station for innovation. I had the whole radio voice and shit, but there was something about, I was at a point where you get furloughed and it's like, okay, I'm not working now.
Yeah.
The whole world shut down. I'm probably not seeing a lot of people I know, a lot of friends. Yeah. What can I do that's just me right here? And I think I just chose playing an instrument never really, guitar would be easy, but if I actually had to play an instrument, I would play like the drums or I'd play like a piano or something. And it just didn't occur to me. But like painting was also like, how can you go wrong? Because you can suck at guitar. You can get better. Yeah. But you can also just fucking suck at it. But painting in my head was like, I'm always doing like a risk management, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In my head. So it's like, I could just throw a painting out and then get a new canvas. And then, but if I suck at guitar or I suck at piano or whatever, I just have that in front of me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, get better or fuck it.
Yeah.
But if you do a bad painting, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say because you can like visually see your output too with the painting. So you can like assess it. Yeah.
That's also, I would love a guitar too, or like an instrument. Cause now the shitty part of painting, now that I'm like getting good at it and getting like, I won't say notoriety, but I'll say like people are noticing it more and like paying for it. I sleep on my paintings my whole life. Like I can see a picture in your background right now. And I wish that was my fucking room. That was just a picture up in my thing. Yeah. This is like my side right now.
Yeah. You are just swimming in canvases there.
Yeah. It's a pain in the ass. It's a little bit.
Do you have like this is like slightly jumping ahead, but like, is like everything, I know that you're starting to do some sales and some commissions, but is everything up for sale or is there like some that you just keep just for you? Or do you have or is like, you don't really care or you know what I mean?
I mean, you know me fairly well by now.
You probably have a few sentimental ones that you're not letting go of.
Wow. No, I was going to say, you know, I don't really care about it. No, so I'm holding on to stuff right now that, so the idea was I had a few, which is really, really cool, which is like, I don't know how we get into it, but like a talk about growth. I had a few galleries, like small galleries in like Brooklyn, reach out to me and be like, hey, we'd love to show your stuff, but like COVID stuff is kind of weird right now. We don't know where things are going to go. Yeah. And I was like, hey, that's okay. So I'm holding on to stuff right now to show.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like do my own like showing of like larger pieces. It's so weird to talk like this, man. It really, really is because it's not something I ever did in my entire life until I didn't start selling shit until 2021. Yeah,
it is interesting. Like, I mean, like we know each other through comedy and like then became friends through that. But like I know, like you do stand up, you act occasionally, you write a lot. But then when I noticed you were starting to do painting and I was like, oh, wow, like this stuff is really good. And then I was like, wait, was he like doing this the whole time? And I just never knew. No. And it's really interesting. So like, do you feel like being able to express yourself like visually, has it changed your perspective on other types of art that you do? Like perhaps like if you ever pick up the pen to write at any point, has like your visual work like informed that in any way, do you think? Or totally unrelated?
I thought about this. Yeah. I thought about this before we talked. It's really, really weird. Okay. So this is the only way I can describe it. So I'm still writing constantly. Yeah. I'm in a writing class with someone that works on Grownish right now. That's great. Like I'm doing that. I've submitted to festivals. It's really weird to say out loud. I'm an award-winning documentary filmmaker.
Right. That's true. That's a whole other. Yeah.
Let's throw cash out. Okay. Yeah, there's so many. It's not even visual expression. It's just I need to get shit out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just don't feel comfortable doing that with, it's not even that I don't feel comfortable with it. This is what I realized. We've performed together. We've performed together many times.
Yeah.
On the same show, Walt. Yeah. Or, on various shows where you've been there and I've been there or whatever. There's that need to when you perform, when you do stand up or you do any UCB or anything, you want a response.
Yeah.
From the crowd. You
hope for.
Yeah, you hope for something. You might not get what you want, but you hope for something. But there's a need where you're trying to, I don't know another way to put it. It's going to sound super gross. You're trying to get people off. You're trying to make them laugh, make them forget about whatever.
That's all a laugh is. It's just basically an orgasm. Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously. if we boil it down. But I'm at a place right now where, especially with painting, where I'm not trying to get anyone off besides myself.
So it's masturbatory, I see. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I really mean that. I'm not trying to. Okay, and you know a better way to put it is, you're trying to impress people. You're trying to impress, here's how funny I am with improv. Here's how funny I am with jokes that I wrote or whatever. And you might have a bad set, you might have a good set, you might have a bad show, a good show. Yeah. I'm not trying to impress anyone besides myself. Yeah. And that's where I'm kind of at.
Yeah. I think that's so real. And honestly, where I feel I'm always trying to get to. And it's why right now I'm sort of reevaluating, how I express my creativity. Because rather than being on stage or immediate, putting my face out there and getting an immediate reaction, I'm maybe I would actually much more like to work on some more thoughtful projects that take more time, ahead of time than just going and doing mics, take more sort of introspection and creativity. And then I feel the fulfillment from that will be a totally different type and perhaps more authentic experience than just, running a set until it's the tightest 15 minutes it possibly can be.
Sure. You've always also struck me as a person, and I very much identify. I don't know if I identify it when we met, but I very much identify it now, where I feel you long lasting type of things. Yeah. And a set is just even if you run it to 15 minutes of perfection, it's done. Yeah. You need to make another 15-minute set where something I make or something you might direct, is filmed. It's there always. Yeah. You can make it great. You can make it, it might be shitty. It might be amazing, but it's this thing that is always going to be there.
I like that. I don't really love ephemeral stuff that just kind of goes away. It's one of the reasons why I was always so frustrated with improv is because you would do it and then it was gone.
Yeah, you have an amazing improv set, and then it'd just be well, that was really fun. You can't do it again. Or people know. Or people know you're fucking.
No, well, then that's just a sketch, I guess.
Yeah, that is.
But so do you find what's your process for when you do a piece, a painting, a piece? Is it something that you is it a quick process? Is it a couple hours? Is it a couple days? Or does it vary from piece to piece where you'll go back and tweak things? Or is it sort of you sit down and finish in one sitting?
I thank you for asking that. Cause that's the part I really love. And I don't miss about, I think maybe I'll perform again. I probably will perform again, but I'm not thinking about it in terms of performing. Is you work on a joke and you think it's funny. Yeah. You think it's fucking great. Put it in a crowd and it's doesn't go over well. You do it to another crowd, it goes over great. And then you keep working on that joke and it's just well, eventually you have to let it go or stay with it and put it in, or put it into a different context or whatever. But with painting, it's just something I could do something for 20 minutes and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could do something for a month. Like I do something for 20 minutes and then come back to it like 30 days later and then finish it. I'll show you something that I've been working on for like 2.5 weeks. And it seems so dumb because it's like an 8x10.
Yeah.
Which is like what I started with, but like very, very small. Hang on one second.
This is an audio medium, but he's getting a painting down. And
I forgot all about that. I'm looking at you. But this.
Okay. Yeah. And it's very, from my Zoom screen here, because we're doing this over Zoom, it seems quite simple, but also like, it's like abstract. It's multicolors, all sort of oranges and yellows, but it's not like you're trying to perfect like an arch of someone's nose in like a portrait or something like
and
that.
That's the one thing I wrote on my website when I made a website, and I try to tell people like, I can paint you if you were feeling angry at Caroline, which I hope you never feel, about something. And I'd be like, okay, you're angry at your girlfriend, at your partner, and it's a week that you're having a hard week. I can capture that emotion. I can't paint you. I'm not good enough to paint you, and I don't want to. A landscape.
It's a different skill set, a different type of art, a different practice entirely. It's the difference between like playing, you could be a musician, but the difference between like a rapper and I don't know, a country singer is pretty far. I mean, unless I guess you're Lil Nas X, but like,
where you can do kind of both.
You do both.
But what I was saying with this thing is like, I don't know when this will be done. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's something where I kind of like, I put it up somewhere and it's like not on my radar. Cause if I can't finish something right away, I have to take it away, which is a cool thing that painting has taught me. But I don't know when this will be done. I don't know if it ever will be done. I love that it's how it looks. Like you just described it perfectly for people that are listening. But I don't know when it will be done. And that's kind of the cool thing. Like when it's done, I'll know.
Yeah. And then those creative choices, those artistic decisions of when something is done, being left up to you as the individual artist, I think is like really a lot, like way more freeing than, for example, stand up is, because you can think that something is funny as hell, but if people just don't get it, arguably you might be a bad stand-up, but it's just not the vibe.
There's a potential that you just might suck, but also, people might not get your jokes too. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not encouraging anyone to go out and be like, you just don't get it. I'm great. But
no, and I'm not encouraging stand-ups to start doing art because I would lose a lot of my fan base.
Don't go on. Julian has a niche that he's carved out for himself, and we don't need anybody else getting in on this game.
It's true though. It's like a really cool thing where seriously, it's like a thing where like people are like, I have all these other like followers now that are like artists. Yeah. Or like art lovers. And there are people that write about their art. Like this is about like, being in a beautiful moment, in the summer and just seeing someone that you loved and like being in the sunlight. And like, I write like little joke, like I like got off the toilet and then I made this.
Yeah.
Like no one does that though. I realize that like there's a whole like other
some people take
approach.
Themselves way too seriously in that world.
Yes.
That actually leads me into something I'm curious about. What is it like coming from the comedy world and then waiting around in the more art world that some could say might be more pretentious, although I know plenty of pretentious comedians.
Oh God. Yeah.
What's the feeling of that? Like being hanging out with these different sort of getting to know the people in the art world versus like the comedians that I won't call it pretentious because it's coming from different areas. Like it's coming from a different perspectives. But I noticed that it's not that different. If you're in the comedy world, you want people to know that you're funny and you want all of that attention. Right. And if you're a painter or like some kind of visual artist, you will also, it's all art in the sense of you want validation. Right. You want people to be like, oh, this is fucking great. Yeah. This is amazing. You're great. But as opposed to being funny, there's a very serious tone that I actively try to not engage with.
in terms of the art world, where it is kind of like what I laid out, like, oh, this is like a thing about being, you know, texturized in the city of like, you know, London, but like at night and like feeling so much. And it's like, what are you talking about? You have a black circle over a blue canvas.
Yeah.
That's what you have.
Yeah.
And it's very, very cool. So I think the niche, I mean, we were joking about it, but it's what I actually have, what I'm trying to carve out is this kind of like humorous, like take on things that are, at least like pieces that are, I feel like I don't paint like comedy pieces.
Right.
They're not like the, you know, when you have like the big head and like somebody on a bicycle and it's like, so like trying to navigate that is the people are just navigating these people is just one of the fun parts of doing this since at least the last like 6 months. Yeah. Just like, they're not comedy people, but they're also kind of absurd. Yeah. Yeah. And you gotta, I don't know. I think it's just like, you're a funny person. It's in your bones. Thank you, Angela. Jesus. You are. And so like, that's what I've been saying about this podcast too. I was like, this podcast is not necessarily a comedy podcast. However, it is funny because like I'm funny and many of the people that I talk to are funny. So like there will be jokes here and there. And I think like, it's the same thing with what you're talking about. Like your work inherently, even though it's painting, is going to have humor to it and is going to have like a comedic take on certain subjects or whatever, just because of who you are, even though, you know, it's not like you're drawing like, like a little guy with a big head on riding a unicycle or something. Exactly. You know exactly the picture I'm talking about too. Exactly. Like, I know. Like on the beach somewhere. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes about art, and it's not really even a quote. It's just like a quip that I heard once, was like, you know, when you go to a museum and there's like a painting and it's like $2 million and it's literally just like white. And people are like, that's not art. Like I could do that. How come that's art? And what I do is an art. And it's like, well, because you didn't paint it. Yeah. It's just like someone painted that and said it's art. So guess what? It is art. Yeah. Yeah. It's this really weird thing too, where people like the more art that I've taken in so much art over the last year, not even just at museums. So we live in the epicenter of fucking museums and like art, like we live in New York City. But just from people, like from the internet, from just like, you know, putting stuff out there and people being like, hey, check out my stuff. Yeah. Like here or just looking at different things that kind of get inspired. Yeah. Yeah. It's really weird that like someone can paint an all white thing and just have it be like, is that something? Is that nothing? Is that, I think something that's come up that I've realized is that when people are like, oh, there's nothing there. Like for you, what you just described, like people think that's amazing. Yeah. And it's only amazing because someone put it in a museum in front of you. Yeah. You saw that on the street or like whatever, or like on a billboard or something. It just looks blank. Yes, exactly. Also like there's also all these conversations about like, well, it's not actually white. It's really like just slightly blue. Off-white. Eggshell. I'm like, okay. It's a bunch of bullshit, to be totally honest. I mean, some of that is like, and then I'm like, okay, I kind of like, I get it. I took a lot of art classes in college and I read a lot about art and I go to museums a lot. But I like just like art history stuff, not actually physically doing it. But that argument was always very funny to me. And some of the best artists though are the simple ones like Rothko. It's just like blocks of color. There's squares. But then it's like all about how he puts them together, you know what I mean? Yeah, or like a Jackson Pollock is literally just a fucking mess. I mean, he's just spitting and pissing and kicking and shitting on his. He's just like flicking a cigarette, throwing shit. Yeah. I just recently started doing shit where it was just kind of like this, like I was trying to do like Pollock-esque stuff. And I was like, oh, you're just throwing shit at the wall, literally. Mm-hmm. And people are paying you millions for it. But it's this weird like art thing where I've come to realize like that like all white thing that maybe has like a darker hue right here has a whole, like the description of it is probably long as fuck. Yeah. It's really more of an essay than a painting. Exactly. like what you want is what the artist was like, here's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And if you guys can't see it, but I'm doing typing motions. Like that's when you see something that's just blank or like looks just like a hue of blue or a hue of red or whatever. And then you see a long paragraph. That's what that's what they want.
That's
to see.
it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense. In that way, like I really enjoy surrealism because it's all about like that sort of like, it's more about this essay that I wanted to write than what the actual piece is.
Yeah. I wanted to tell you this, but I didn't know how. So here's this white sheet of paper. Yeah. And then also another paper with my entire thought. Yeah. That's really what it is. And like, there's, that's not wrong. It's not me, but it's not, I personally don't appreciate it. There is something to be appreciated there, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that like, exploring visual art and painting and everything that you've been doing over the last like year and a half, I guess basically 2 years now. Wait, no, 1 year.
Oh, July. So like a
July
year and like 2 months.
A year and a year and a couple months.
We're on 14 months, but thank you for saying 2 years. Let's pump that out.
Time is so weird right now in lockdown and like pandemic because I'm like, I don't know what day or year it is, but do you feel like the painting and everything has been like scratching all like the itches that you've had that you were now not getting fulfilled kind of from being like locked down and especially not being able to perform anymore, or no? I mean, different.
There's the truthful answer is more so.
Good.
There's right. Good. Thank you. But more so because if you're performing in front of people, there's an inherent, like people would probably deny it, but there's an inherent like narcissism. You can't get up in front of people and do whatever you want to do without being really into yourself. Yeah. And I'm also just flat out an only child Aries. So I'm already pretty into myself and into my own things. So like painting is just like, oh, this is just, the only way to describe it is like, this is just like for me to enjoy. Yeah. And if I enjoy it enough, I'll put it on the internet and I'll see if other people enjoy it. And that's gone over pretty well. So it's just scratched all of these, it's the same thing we were just talking about. Like, good set, bad set. Anyway, I think these jokes like work for me. But the only response is me. Yeah. There's no one else to like contribute to that. I've put shit online that like, I think people don't like. Yeah. But someone's like, hey, I think that's really, really great. And I've put shit online that I think people like 20 or 40 people have just been like, hey, this is amazing. This is really, really cool. But like it starts and ends with me. Yeah. And that scratches a lot of itches. Like it's not a replacement, but it's definitely, it feels like a whole new thing, but I feel it more, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like it's a more authentic expression to like what you're actually trying to express because you're not trying to like tweak it for other people to respond in any certain way?
I totally feel that way. I feel like I make long-winded responses for something that you just said in a concise sentence. Yes, it's a more authentic expression of who I am. Like if I have an emotion, some things are about pain. I lost a lot of family members to COVID. Some things are about joy. Some things are about love. Some things are about not having love. And they're all more so for me, where like a joke or something on stage, you tweak it so it works for the audience. Even if it's not your intention, you make it so, people respond if I do it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it's a way more authentic expression of myself, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. So when you first started, when you ordered the first batch of canvases and paint and stuff, what did you just pick the like Amazon.com special, what was on sale? Or did you like have like anything in mind? Like, okay, I'm going for the dark color palette here. Or like, I want to paint something that makes me feel like some kind of way. Like, did you have anything in mind, or was it just like basic paint set? Let's play around and see what happens?
I remember I had got I was done with my job.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you're not seeing anyone. I was, single. So I was just in my studio apartment, which if during a pandemic, don't live in a studio apartment. You will drive yourself crazy. You can only watch
Cash.
so much Gossip Girl with Cash. You can only watch. But I just wanted paint, and I got these. I saw these on sale actually. Yeah, Amazon, 8x10s, which is kind of what it just showed you.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not
it's like
crazy.
A computer paper is 8x10, right? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. If you have a MacBook, if you have a regular size MacBook, it's probably the size of your screen.
Yeah.
And I was there was a sale for I think it was $20 for 20 of those. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then I just got regular. I looked it up. I did a little research. So I got acrylic paint, which is normally what I work off of. And I was like, I'll just get acrylic paint. Here's $20 for a set of 35 acrylic paints. They're all little tubes.
Yeah.
And now I have now this is how it works.
The massive tubes.
Yeah. If you can't see it, I have a massive tube of blue, cobalt blue hue. But when I started, it would be this big.
Yeah. 3 inches big. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you're constantly churning out pieces. How much
That's
time?
Crazy.
How much time a day do you spend? Or is it you just sit down for one day a week and you do many in a row? Or is it every day? Do you paint every day?
I try to.
Yeah.
I'm at a point now where I really appreciate that, by the way. I feel I think a lot of people aren't turning out stuff. And I felt I didn't paint today. And that kind of makes me a little bummed out. It really is something
It's only 2:30, so we have time later.
No. Okay. So here's the crazy thing. I've realized that I can only paint well with stuff that I like and I feel good about between 5:30 a.m. and noon. I can't paint me. I can't do it.
So is that you waking up at 5 a.m. and painting, or is it you staying up all night until noon?
It's definitely the former and not the latter.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure you got some rest in there.
There's something about the sunlight coming. That's really funny that you thought. There's something about the sunlight coming in and hitting me a right way. I can't paint at night at all. I can evaluate at night. I can see what I kind of want to do. Yeah. But in the morning is where I really, really, really function well.
That's interesting. And was it the same thing for you when you write? Are you also mornings are good or?
No, that's so crazy. Cause I just submitted for this, this thing. I had to write a new pilot and then do a spec of another pilot. I don't know who listens to your podcast. A spec is not a pilot, but a script about an already existing series. Just for the biz people that want to. But I can only write at night.
Interesting.
I can't write in the morning, but at night it's before I start to either smoke weed and go to sleep or just go to sleep, but probably smoke weed and go to sleep. That's when I'm really feeling writing, but painting, I can't, I need sunlight. I need it to be bright. I need to be starting.
It does for me. It's really interesting because I'm maybe it's a right brain, left brain type of thing, you know, different parts of the day, kind of perk up your right brain versus your left brain. But it could also be I don't know. I find I write really well at night because I feel especially late at night, after 10 p.m., because I feel the whole world is asleep, even though that's not true, but it's a lot easier. Yeah. But it's a lot easier to feel everyone's asleep and I'm the only one awake and I'm the only one that's and I'm just so tuned into what I'm working on. So oftentimes when I'm, luckily this writing gig that I had earlier this year and last year it was kind of you can write on your own time. You just need to turn your scripts in at a certain point. So I was just writing from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. most days a week. I was just
That's
working
awesome,
a vampire, but
that's amazing though. If you can find the groove where you work best, I feel that's half the battle.
Yes. Although it doesn't quite translate for professional writing jobs, but
Sure. Sure,
I can also do that if I need to. But but it's interesting to me because I've actually read a bit and done like random YouTube video holes of like the great artists of the 1920s, right? And what their schedules were like. And I saw one about Picasso's schedule, and he like would like wake up really early in the morning and paint from like 5 a.m. to like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. And then he would eat and read and chill and like go to lunch with a friend. And then he would like come back and have some family time and have dinner. And then he would again like paint from like 8 p.m. until like 10 p.m. and then go to sleep and then like get it. So it was like late at night and early in the morning. Yeah. And it's just like such interesting. It's interesting.
I think what works for different people, I've been fortunate enough to make like some friends in the city that like I've met up with outside safely that are also painters, and like hearing their process and hearing like when they do stuff is just like, I have a friend that just only can paint between like, he's like, I do it between 2 and 6. And if I can't do it between 2 and 6, it's not getting done.
Yeah. In the afternoon.
In the afternoon. Yeah. And like he plans his whole life around that. And he's also someone that like makes money from like his job is to be an artist, like a painter. Yeah. So it's really like crazy. Like if you can't do it in that, like, what is that, 4-hour span?
Yeah.
Did you just waste that day? Or
wait till the next day?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really weird to like start making money from this. And like, you know, I take it way more seriously than I did. So now I know like the morning time is like, you know, you said like there's still time in the day, but I know it's like, we're going to finish this in like, you know, a half hour or whatever. It's going to be like 3 something. And I know I can't paint after that. And that makes me feel it's kind of a bummer. It's kind of like a sadness to like, oh, well, you know, there's that prime time where I know I'm good and I know what I want, and I missed it, or I didn't utilize it.
Right. And so then it's really like tied to the daily like schedule of like the light and the hours, and not tied to like, oh, I'm like suddenly inspired at like 8 p.m. and I'm going to go do this now. Like you don't get that really then, huh?
So something I've started doing is it is an inspiration thing. It is like I won't just like, it's weird. It is that timing of like, for me at least, like the morning times and like when when I know I'm good to paint, like when the best time for me is. But if I don't have anything to say, and I usually, if I have an inspiration, I usually try to write it down. Like this is kind of what I'm going for, and save it like by my desk or by my bed or something. Yeah. But if I don't have that, it's not happening. Yeah. Like that inspiration, like it could hit me at 7 p.m., but I know I won't do it until the morning. So I try to lock it down, but it's really weird. It's a very finicky kind of, because with a show, like, you know, okay, the show's at 8. All right, you're going to go on in 10 minutes. Like, you know exactly
you
when
have
that
no
has
choice.
to happen.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
But like with painting, it's just very, you dictate it on your own terms, and hopefully the best terms for you. Yeah. I think.
Have you found that you've like adjusted your schedule like around, you know, freeing up those morning hours to be able to paint more?
Absolutely.
Or like as much as you can. So you're not like staying up, like going out super late every night because you know that you want to wake up early in the morning and paint if you can.
No, well, you know, based on what the CNN says, like I'm not going out many nights often. But yeah, I definitely do. I definitely
not staying up till 4 a.m. watching Mad Men though.
No, that stops at 11:30. Okay. I have like a hard. I used to stay up so late. Like if I had to be at work, if I had to be at a job somewhere at 9 a.m. and I had to be up at 8, I would still go to sleep at like 2, 1:30. Yeah. I just have never slept well. Yeah. And now I bought melatonin. When I started painting, because I want to force myself to sleep. Yeah. Or not force it, but like ease myself to sleep.
Right.
So I can get up. And if I do want to say something, I'll be up.
Yeah. You don't want to sleep through your hours.
my creative. Yeah. Some people have like a creative peak or whatever. And it's like mine's in the morning for sure.
Yeah. So So now, like, as you've progressed, like from when you started 14 months ago,
Sure.
do you feel that your style has changed like much over the last like 14 months? I know like you do a lot of abstract stuff, but then I've also seen you do some things that are a little bit more like concrete, like more like that seem to have more of like, not necessarily a portrait or something, but like not quite abstract either. Do you feel like, or that's just like kind of always been all part of it?
Wait, what's the question?
The question is, sorry, that was a shitty way.
No, you're great. You're so great. I want to answer it so well.
My question is, sorry, I just accidentally turned my recording off, but I just turned it back on.
Wow. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. my question is, do you think that your work has evolved or changed in the last 14 months that you've been doing it? Or have you been basically the same? I
don't want to sound pompous. I grew up in Buffalo. I'm not a pompous person. I hope I'm not.
He's a Bills fan. He can't possibly be pompous.
I got a hat somewhere. Got the Mafia hat.
Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia. I for sure know I've gotten better. Mm-hmm. I've definitely gotten better. The thing that and it's kind of an aspect of my personality, which I think you probably have, like, I don't ever want to do the same thing that I've done before.
Yeah.
So I think there's like changes, like right now I'm really into these like textural pieces, like things that raise up.
Yeah.
But I don't see that being my like signature. Like I don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking on words today. Like signature, like style.
Like you want to like tie yourself down to one genre.
Yeah.
Sort of. So
like I want it to always be changing. Like, you know what a Pollock is.
Right.
Like if I say Jackson Pollock, you like know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I want you rather to say, I mean, it'd be so cool if this happened one day. I don't know if it will, but if someone says like, oh, a Julian Williams like piece, I'd rather have the name on it with like, oh, that he's like a good painter, like he does cool shit, as opposed to a style attached to it.
I see.
So I've been doing so many different things. I've been trying to, at least.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I know some painters and artists in general will iterate on one, like they'll paint like one thing and then do a version of that like 100 times. Mm-hmm. That's not you.
No. I think there's really, I mean, if you're good at something and you're okay, you feel good being good at that one thing, that one style.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great. Like, go for it. Like, love it. I've personally just always been, and I think you probably know that, and people that are, if they listen to your podcast and they know me, they probably know that too. Like I've never been a master at anything, but I've been really good, I think, at a lot of different things. I like being really good at a lot of different things. I'm never going to be, it just doesn't interest me to be like, oh, I'm really great at this, so I'm only going to do this.
Yes.
Because I know I'll get bored with it.
I relate to that. I feel the same way. And I find that, and I wonder if you agree, because for me, I find that like having, exploring these different like skills, like different things that you can be like pretty good at versus being like super specialized, being a little bit more of a generalist, I find informs my like overall perspective on like art and creativity a lot more broadly than I think it would if I was just super honed into one like specialty. Do you find that like it helps you expand your mind?
Totally agree. I think the more things that you open yourself up to, and I would not make the shit I make right now and put online right now and have on my website if I didn't do UCB.
Right.
If I didn't live in, after college, if I didn't live in LA, if I didn't move to Chicago and then eventually move to New York, if I didn't, it's really weird. If I didn't date certain people, if I didn't make certain friends, I would not have, I think you have to like open yourself up to everything and new experiences to like take more in. Mm-hmm. and that's, you know, I'm talking about like people and places, but like it is mediums. Like if I didn't act, if I didn't do, you know, perform stand-up, do a sketch show at UCB, if I didn't, you know, write a whole screenplay or whatever, I would not be a person that can make something that's sellable in my head. Yeah. But there are people that function that way that are, you know, amazing, that are just like, I do one thing and I like this one thing and that's it. And okay. Great.
Different strokes for different folks, but I find that I'm a lot
I love
more
that
the
phrase.
same thing. So, okay, when was it that you really started to look at painting in your art as it could be more than just a hobby to keep yourself entertained? When did you start to kind of realize that like you not only were good enough at it and were getting enough traction, but also were passionate enough about it to try to like make something more out of that?
Don Draper. That's what the money is for. When someone hit me up on like Instagram in like December, and I had like, it's really weird to think about, but like over the course of a year, I have, if you go on my website, like there's like 80 images. 80
finally
paintings,
got you to make a website. I'm trying to get this guy to make a website for probably 5 years. And he never made one for performing or comedy, but he made one for his art. So that's how you know.
It's the most basic website too. It's such a Squarespace, white screen, all my stuff, a picture of me. That's all I wanted. But when someone offered me money, they were like, "Hey, how much is that?" And I was like, it was someone I did not know. It was someone that just like kind of saw it and like, you know, you put like hashtags and people, like everybody could see it that follows that hashtag. Yeah. And they were like, "How much does that cost?" And I was like, "I don't know. I didn't think about selling it. It's kind of a coping thing that I'm doing." And it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, you know, if you start selling something, I'd really like to buy that." And I was like, okay. And it became a more serious thing. And then when that became more serious and like, it was like, "Oh, I'm doing that type of thing and it's, people want to buy it," then I started to take it more seriously. And then so when you start to take something more seriously, I think, instinctively become more passionate about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like when you do like stand up and it's like, you get that first like big, like a couple people might laugh and that's great, but you get that first like whole room laugh. Yeah. You start to take your shit a little bit more seriously. Like, "Oh wow, that's amazing. I want to do that again." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's really great that like also in such a short time, I guess it really speaks to your ability to put yourself out there also online, even just, you know, on Instagram and connecting with other artists and people who are fans of art. Because you could have just been doing this in your bedroom or whatever during lockdown and maybe not posting about it, right? Like, sure. And then, you know, you wouldn't find yourself in the position that you're at right now, which is like maybe going to be showing in some galleries soon and you're selling pieces and you have a fucking website. It's really weird, man. It's but I found the more seriously I take it and like, as an extension of that, take myself with it, like it becomes like the more I get out of it. It's the same thing with stand up, it's the same thing with improv. The more I actually took it as like a thing that I am doing, that I am not great at, but like also hoping to be great at. Yeah. The better the rewards, the more, and it's just a mutual, do you know what I'm saying? Like a circular. Cyclical. Yeah. The more seriously I take it, the better I get at it, the more I want out of it, and then the more I get out of it, and then it just keeps going round and round. Cyclical. That is cyclical. Word. Yeah.
I think that's like a huge part of this whole like idea of the swerve, right? Is that like when you decide that you want to go in a different direction creatively, when you kind of like like for yourself start calling yourself, "Oh, I'm a visual artist, I'm a painter now," as well as being a writer and a comedian and whatever. That's, I think that like you have to believe it before anyone else is going to believe it. And I feel like that's like a huge part. Like it's the same thing of like I always tell people that like, occasionally like people who are just getting started in film and video stuff will like ask me for advice. And I'm like, the first thing I can tell you is like, don't call yourself an amateur or aspiring filmmaker. Like you can just be a filmmaker. Like even if you've made one thing, but
if
don't
you don't
say
take yourself seriously, no one else will.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So one last question I have for you for now, unless something else, maybe we'll get on another sidetrack. But
okay. I want the final question though. I'm excited.
I'm
this
just
is so
curious.
Cool.
I do want to say thank you so much for chatting with me. We're not done yet, but I will say you are taking yourself very seriously, because the caveat I gave you when I asked you to be on the show was you can't say, I don't think about that at all when I ask you questions.
I know. I thought about that too. And that was like, there is this kind of, I don't know. There's something that I think goes over well with painting. I think any kind of art that I've always been into. And it's like this mystique.
Yeah. Oh, you love a mystique.
I do like a mystique. I like that you don't know. I like that you don't know exactly what I'm thinking or exactly what I'm doing all the time.
Yeah.
Which I think is like with social media and like, I just got on TikTok to like put stuff like, oh God. It is a very oh God situation.
Wait, are you putting all your art like on TikTok, or are you doing skits?
No, I'm not. I'm not doing the Bus It challenge. But like putting your stuff out there and like putting like it's just people like doing like hand motions and like twerk things and stuff like that. But I like the mystique of like I don't want you always knowing what I'm doing. Not you specifically, but I don't want you to know what's going on with me all the time. And then I drop something that I think it's a really good painting. And it's like, wait, what's the process behind this? Like I have people like in Germany or like London or Spain hitting me up for like, what did you think about this? Or like, how did you get to here? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do know, but I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't want to like, there's a mystique thing that I think is really, really cool.
I appreciate that. And I will say I've always appreciated that, but it is slightly frustrating when you get asked a serious question and then he pulls his favorite Don Draper quote when someone's like, what do you think about the blah, blah, blah? And he's like, I don't think about that at all. I
don't think about you at all.
Sick.
Wait, I'm sorry. I cut you off. What's your final question? Or your possibly final question. I'd love to keep talking to you.
So I am interested. I already asked you, how has your comedy and your writing influenced your painting? But do you find now that your painting and thinking more visually and in that way has influenced your writing in any way or any of your other work? In what ways do you think?
I see it in just the stuff I've been writing. So I wrote I'm in this class that was just like, you wanted to like develop a new pilot. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that with like a writer from Greenwich, which is really fucking cool in my head. Yeah. But it was like, come in with 3 ideas that you could start to write on and we'll all do it. Like, it's like a Zoom class where you I'm with like, I don't know, 10 other people and this instructor, and like, we're going through stuff. You know, what's really crazy is that she knows, Mike Youre?
Yeah.
He came into one of the classes and like talked to us. Like she wrote for Mike Youre.
Oh, cool.
And he showed up and was just like, I wrote, Parks and Recreation. It just kind of came out. We were like, what?
Yeah, he's casual. Mike Youre is the real deal. He's made some really great shows.
And all he is just a scrawny little white guy just sitting at home. He's just like he's a nerd. He's really nice. But it's helped me in a way that like we're supposed to write one pilot and now I'm writing personally, all 3 of my ideas are about 30 pages in, or like 26 to 30 pages in, because with painting, I kind of know what I want as the end game. And like, I don't know where I start and it just kind of happens, but I know when I'm getting somewhere, like what I want.
Yeah.
And that's transferred to writing where like, I know what I want this to be.
Yeah.
I think some people, me included, I used to like start writing and just be like, oh, this person's talking, this person's talking. I didn't know how I got from A to Z.
Right.
But I know how I wanted A to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with painting, it's just like this whole, it's especially when you get with bigger canvases, like you kind of got to know what you want or you just wasted that money.
Yeah, you're just killing trees.
Yeah, basically. So like, it's really influenced my writing because it's like, okay, I don't know how I want to start this, but I think I was always someone that like, I knew how I wanted to start stuff, but not end it.
Yeah.
And now I know how I want something to end. So that eases me into the start, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Also, I think that is good, really good, because a lot of times, I'd say most times writing, if you just start writing and you don't know where it goes, especially without an outline, you can really just kind of get all over the place. But to have an idea of where you want it to end is great. And that's so interesting too, that it just makes you generally think more visually. Which is
like see the whole picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not to make a painting fucking joke or a pun or whatever, but seeing everything as opposed to one lane. Yeah,
exactly. That's really cool. It's also really it is admirable it is admirable to make such a huge leap from writing and performance stuff, and also like the film world and everything, but to like painting. It's like such a different medium that I think we sometimes forget that they are related in so many ways too. Yeah,
it's all art, really. It's all like perfecting a craft. Like even like, I think we just talked about it, but like not wanting to do the same joke over and over again. For some people, it's just like, I'm perfecting that one thing. And it's in my head, it's not that different than spending an hour like trying to get like this one edge to kind of look how I see it in my head, but it's not there yet. It's the same, it's different amounts of time, but I don't think it's that different a concept, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Well, Julian, this has been really wonderful. And thank you so much for chatting with me. And I can't wait to see where this goes for you. Like as like you start to get more time. I mean, it's only been 14 months, and I hope that I can come to a gallery showing or something of yours soon, especially when
I'd love to have
we get out of a little bit less, a little bit less lockdown. And all that.
I mean, I thank you for having me. This is really cool what you're doing. I like the whole concept of the season. I mean, like, I don't know who listens to your podcast. I don't know who else you're going to talk to. I don't know how you're going to promote it or spread it. But I think the biggest thing is that no one should be afraid to try. I mean, like, it's so simple to say no one should be afraid to try something new, but like to actually like deep dive into something new, like to change who you are. Maybe not core values, but like no one expected that from that person likely. But like if you see it, it's what is it? It's oh God, what is that quote? If you will it, it is no dream, or something like that.
I like that.
Someone said that. Don't like me for it. But like someone said,
I like that as a quote, and it is not attributed to Julian. So just everyone be clear that Julian did not come up with that.
No, I'm going to speak directly into my mic. I'm a dumb piece of shit. I did not create that saying, but please use it. Anyone that wants to.
Wow, leave it to Julian to end the convo with a nugget of wisdom like that. What a guy. You can check out Julian's art on Instagram at Julian Edward Williams. And there's also a link in his bio that goes to his website with even more of his work. Thank you, Julian, for joining me on the podcast. It was really a pleasure to talk with you. And we only talked about Mad Men for like 20, 30, 40 minutes of the hour. So I think it went well. Not to get too sidetracked again, dear listener, but that is it for me this week. This has been You Gotta Have a Podcast. I have always been Angela Palladino, and you have always been listening to this, what feels like forever, in fact. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe so you can get the next episode next week. And if you have a minute, I'd really appreciate if you can leave a rating or a review for the podcast. It would really help me out. Thanks for listening, and until next time, I'll talk to you.